Hey guys, and welcome to the J and K Show. This is your Tuesday edition. We're breaking down just the headlines from the weekend, headlines going on right now. We'll start off with the big weekend NBA puts on. They do their best. They did a little better and a little worse in a ways for the All-Star weekend. We'll start off with the game. Jay, I thought that the game itself was actually better, and I honestly got to give at least 80% of the credit to Victor Wembanyama and
Yeah.
maybe 20% to Ant Edwards, who decided to shoot with his right hand instead of that bullshit left hand that he did last year. So, kind of threw his LeBron-ness out the door and decided to take it serious. Gets the MVP. I thought there was select players like Cade Cunningham that played hard, played defense. Kawhi played hard. I was very happy to see at least 80% effort from probably 80% of the group. I'll just keep using that word. Yeah. I thought it was much better than it's been.
Yeah, I'll give them kudos. They at least, I again, not a fan of the format,
Right.
but it was a lot better than watching 4 quarters of walking and alley-oops that are thrown over the backboard and, just lackadaisical play.
Yeah.
It was a lot better. And I mean there was a little bit more of an effort made. It was almost seemed like they wanted to compete.
Hmm.
And I missed the first quarter. I'm sorry.
That was
I
the
was watching
one, too.
Daytona. That's my
They
fault.
set the
Okay, that was
tone.
my fault.
That's okay.
But, I'll take your word for it because I trust you.
Hmm.
That first quarter seemed to be close. So when I watched the Stars and the Stripes, though, the second quarter, it was about meh for the first half of it.
Yeah, like half was, and the other half was actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that last couple minutes, it got fierce.
Yeah, like
The old guys
competitive.
just didn't want to lose to the young ones. But I'll give them a lot of credit. I'm still not going to pat Silver on the back by any means, but I thought it was really good.
Yep, I agree. Think that I know we both want the same thing, and I think that is USA World 12 on 12 for a
Yeah.
full game. But I do admit that second and third quarter that people will fuck around because
Mhm.
they got all game to be competitive. I admit that a tournament style holds them a little more accountable as far as well, you only got 12 minutes and you're going to sub. And so it maybe the guys actually go, well, I'm only going to play about 6 or 7 minutes. I need to give myself some effort, while I'm out here, rather than have those lulls in the middle of the game where it's like, So I could understand it for that reason. Do you still think, with that in mind, that a just full game would still be better, or do you think there would be layup lines by the second quarter? Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. I mean they can do something
Yeah.
else, because I mean you see the Stars and the Stripes go against each other. You see them in the second game and then the championship game they go against each other, so I mean it can be repetitive. The world only had to play 2 quarters, um and it just seemed like the Stripes team, the vets, man, they ran out of gas. It's like we can't. They just went 2 straight quarters, and then they went into the championship game, which I before the championship game they gave them a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, the old guys just ran out of gas. So
And it's
and it
rare
was
for
evident.
Yeah, and it's rare for me. Credit a little bit to LeBron. He was beating sweat. I was actually
Yeah.
surprised when you have guys like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, who you could tell in the first game they were not taking it as serious. They were
Hmm.
walking around a little bit, but they got subbed out. And Pascal Siakam comes in, and Alperune's
Pascal was playing.
was that Alperun Sengun comes in, and you have these guys come in that actually gave a little shit. And I think when you look at the world, we talked about it before it was going to happen. There was 4 MVPs. The reason that they didn't win was because that none of them were really playing. Two of them were
Yeah.
injured, Shea and Antetokounmpo, and then the other two really just weren't taking it very seriously. Now, so are we going to have the MVP caliber guys not give a shit? Maybe, but I still think kudos to Wimby and Ant because those future MVPs are probably going to set the tone for future ones for us. And so I think that's a good thing. That's a good sign. The Cade Cunninghams, everyone followed suit. So I think that in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, no offense to the vets, they're amazing players and they gave us a generation of talent. I will be happy to see them retire for the benefit of competitiveness in the All-Star game. I missed that as a child. I grew up on Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter. I mean, these guys played. Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan. I mean, they played. And it just disappoints me to see these guys, what I argue, they're more talented, are athletic, and then they give us those shit shows that they've done for probably the last 8 seasons. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Wembanyama, I think he's going to be the new face. It looks like it. He's playing well. What do you think, Jay? Who's going to be the next face from what we've seen in this All-Star game? Like, who are your people you look at for the next face of the league?
Well, I think the current phase right now, you could argue probably between Shea and Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, probably
Either
Shea
one of
because
those
he was just
guys.
one. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, well, he has his negative things that people kind of notice about the way he
Free
plays, and
throws.
and the benefits that he gets. But you don't hear anybody really complain about Anthony Edwards. I mean, he's got the baby
No.
mama situations and stuff, but I mean that's real life stuff. You keep that separate.
Honestly, there's a
So
lot of people out there that are like, my dog. He just
yeah,
said, I don't want to do that, but you do, so here's the money, and
there you
you
go.
can choose sides on that. But it was different than anyone's ever done, because some
Hmm.
people will say that, they don't want to pay and they kind of go into court and do all that. And he was just like, actually, you know what? Here you go, up front, boom.
Just up
So
front and get it done and out of the way. No distractions.
yeah, it's wild to see, definitely. So you could choose sides on that. So,
Hmm.
Ant, do you think Cade Cunningham, or do you think maybe he's not going to be quite good enough for face?
Well, I mean, he's making the turn right now. You could argue that being in Detroit kind of hurts a little bit because it's a smaller area, smaller market.
Like
But I
Isaiah and
mean,
all them, I didn't know if maybe that was close enough or not. I wasn't sure. I'm pondering
no,
it.
he's I think he's a top 15 guy right now for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
And what Detroit's doing this year is pretty impressive.
yeah,
So, and they're not a joke anymore. And they the last probably you could argue 10 years since the Rip Hamilton and Rasheed days.
yeah,
They could tear anybody a new ass. But it's been a joke up there for a little bit. So,
yeah,
in this, I mean, you could maybe argue. We'll get into this a little bit later, but this is about maybe the result of about 4 years, 5 years of tanking, and now it's kind of finally turning the corner to where they're a competitive ball club and they actually have a little bit of sense to them.
Sometimes it takes a while. Trust the
Yeah,
process.
it takes the process, the decades long process.
In talking with the All Star game Saturday night, it just seemed like the consistency of it was good and then had kind of a shit ending. It seemed to be that way the whole way through the whole Saturday night. I thought that the premiere was the 3-point contest. I thought it was fun. It was dramatic. I will say I picked before it started. I said my front runner's Devin Booker. My wild card is Con Knipple. And they are the two that made it to face off against the fresh legs, I guess we'll
Hmm.
call it, Dame Lillard. I know as people were annoyed that he got in. I would have preferred him not to have been in also. I will admit.
Yeah.
He ends up winning it because Booker backed in to losing. And he was upset. And so I enjoyed that as the drama, but I was disappointed that Dame Lillard became a 3-time 3-pointer and he hasn't even played. So what was your take on that?
Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. He hasn't played a minute this year. He's on IR or
I mean, I
whatever
don't
they
think he's
call it.
going to play either. I feel like he's
No,
not, and he's on Portland,
he
and
shouldn't.
they're in this like kind of a tanking, like we are talking about. Like they're kind of rebuilding, and so
Mhm,
it's like I kind of just wanted Con Knipple, like the best rookie ever from three, surprisingly, or even Devin Booker.
mhm.
But yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you want to see something different. You kind of want to see things change. When you watch All Star Saturday Night, you're thinking this is about to be the most entertaining 2.5, 3 hours
Yeah, just
that the
fun,
NBA
right?
puts out. Yeah, it's just supposed to be a fun, just loose, come out here and put on a show and
Yep.
do what you do best and what you get paid to do. Man, for the better part of the last decade, 15 years, it just hasn't produced. Like
Yeah.
there's been moments here and there. There's been a couple of years sprinkled in between about the last 15. that have been like, okay, either the skills competitions are really, really good and the game is shit,
Hmm.
or they're both shit.
Yeah.
Because the game has always been shit in my eyes in the last decade plus. It just has not been entertaining at all.
Yeah.
But you watch the 3-point shootout, you watch the dunk competition. It's usually, at least it'll keep you entertained for that 45 minutes.
Hmm.
But I mean, this year it was kind of a snooze fest too. It
And
was just bad.
I will blame Chris Paul for getting rid of the obstacle course, the skills challenge. He
Yeah,
decides to tell Wembenyama as teammates, hey, this is
yeah.
what we
Just
can do.
mail it in.
I talked to the rules guy, and he didn't really seem to think it was against the rules to just grab the jump shot balls and just drop them. That would still count, so that would save time. Let's go ahead and do that. Then they get disqualified last year for doing
Yeah,
it, and then this year
done.
it's just gone.
It's just gone.
And then Chris Paul retired and took the skills challenge with him. What a dick!
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, all these teams are getting rid of him for a reason. I think I might have something to do with it.
I just
So,
I felt like they gotten too complicated with some of the things. Sometimes you can mess a good thing up. I feel like the
mhm,
skills challenge in its essence, I wanted to see 4 or 5 of the best guards and maybe a couple wing guys and a few big guys and make them about
mhm.
8 or 10 guys. And I want them by themselves, not teams, not just all these different things they've done. They've done like 3-on-3-on-3 bounce passes. They've
Yeah.
done all these different things. And I'm like, just go to what works. Then, you run this race, have all these different passes, all these different types of things to do. Go as fast as you can, following the freaking rules, and let's just see who does the best. Because I liked watching how crisp a pass went through the obstacle and how quick they made their shots, and it, sometimes it was fun to see a freaking Domantas Sabonis almost win. Oh shit, he really is a
Yeah.
skilled big guy. So I'm disappointed that they got rid of that. I enjoyed those over the years.
There's things that they can do. If they don't wanna do the obstacle course thing anymore, I mean, a 3-on-3 game or something, or get, like, the bottom 4 teams in the league, give them a 3-on-3 team and have them duke it out against each other, have a one-on-one match here and there or something.
That's
There's they do have opportunities there. I mean, they have things that they can come up with. It's just getting the brains together to figure it out.
the women's. They apparently some tournament thing was being held, and all of the women were going 1-on-1.
That's nice.
I saw some highlights of what was her name, Paige Buchers and Chelsea Gray and a few different ones, and it actually looked really like competitive, really intense. Like, and I tried to picture what would that be like as all-star type guys, and I'm like, I don't think they could take it seriously because they would be afraid to take it seriously and get beat. I think that there's too much
Mhm.
fear involved. Do you think that they would take 1-on-1 serious, like some kind of 4-man tournament or 8-man tournament, and they just play like three, and like whoever gets the three advances? Like, do you really think they could? Because I have my doubts.
No, no. We just got to get some sensitive ass players anymore.
They got to save
Um,
face. Like, I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, the newer regime coming in, I think that they will be more of a less proud, more competitive group. The old guys right now, I mean, the 10 plus year vets, I mean, I can't wait for most of them to be recycled out. I mean, it
Yeah,
just seems like they have been responsible for the decline of the game. And whether it's a lot of guys will blame the AAU effect and the fact that,
they're all buddies.
buddy buddies, they all go to Cancun when they don't make the finals,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I kind of think more to blame than that is even the 1 year college rule. I think it needs to be three,
Yeah.
at the very least. So I would like to see maybe that change, and then you don't have all these young guys coming in way too early, and then go into a shit losing team who doesn't win for 3 or 4 years, and it makes them look bad, and then they lose their juice.
Yeah.
So I think that more development is in store. I
Hmm.
think that needs to happen. I would say you could make the case for either you go to college for 3 years or you come in straight out of high school. Then, well, we'll see what happens with you, bud. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to take that leap of faith. Do you go get mentored and you go get, more development, or do you come in fresh out of high school and get your ass kicked?
I could see
So,
that. You hold them in the college and you have a certain
mhm,
rule, but you don't have the same rule in the
yeah,
NBA, and you're like, well, which one's the better product? So like, I get what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
Going to they had another event, that Shooting Stars event. I thought that one was pretty weak.
mhm,
I know the intention of it, but you have everyone shooting at the same spot, going as fast as they can to score as many points. It was hard to keep track of how many points they were getting on shots. I remember when they had it back in the day, you tried to go as fast as you could, but you started at one, and then when he made it, the other guy would then be already there at two. And then when he finally made it,
mhm,
then the guy was already there at three. And then you went four or five, and then everyone shot the half court, and you went as
mhm,
fast as you could, and you weren't done. The time didn't stop until you made each shot. I like that format better because they just look so crowded. I mean, you can love all the people when they try to get them involved, but like 5 years ago, Kevin Hart would have been making the bullshit passes. Like, I didn't need these extra guys throwing the passes and missing the players, and they're like, oh, I don't have a ball, and just waiting around for that. And like, that was probably supposed to be there for comedic effect, but I didn't need it. I actually just want to see skill because that's what we're here to watch.
yeah,
So if you want to do a bit with Shaq and Kevin Hart sitting on each other, what, I don't care. But like, for basketball, I want to watch the basketball. So I think they screwed that event up. You're like, oh, we're bringing Shooting Stars back, and I'm like, oh, but you kind of changed it, and that's not as good. That's how I felt
no,
about it.
no, that was just yeah. Friday night was the bleachers were empty
Yeah,
there.
that
I
was
mean,
the
there was
celebrity.
nobody there.
That was the celebrity game, and then the Rising Stars had their tournament late at night, right?
Mhm,
The Shooting Stars one, that was the one after the 3 point contest. I was in between the 3 point
yeah.
contest and the slam dunk contest. And it was just
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
I
like,
mean, it was I I think it's the first time in a long time you can say the All-Star game was actually more entertaining than the previous events in the entire
how
weekend.
did they do that?
Yeah, it's like you finally get the game part to where it is watchable and people will change the channel and
Yeah,
actually watch it without changing back.
yeah.
So, you do that, kudos, but the rest of the weekend just sucked. Probably the worst dunk contest I've ever seen.
You know, it could have been okay, but it really kind of stank. Like, it could
Yeah,
have been
once
good
old dude
or
was like,
decent.
"Oh, I'm gonna go from the free throw line," and he comes out from the freaking 3-second line. It's like, "Oh my god, Duke, what are you doing?"
Who Jackson Hayes' dunk?
Yeah,
He just did a dunk.
that was like this is something you see at high school anymore. Any random high school has a kid on their team that can do that.
Like, look, if I could jump from 2 feet from the free throw line or so, or I would be really happy because I'm 6'2", but he's
Yeah,
7 foot and he's an athlete, and I already thought he could do that. So what am I supposed to react to?
you're throwing that word around
Wow.
pretty loose.
I'm just saying. I thought that the dunk contest could have been decent. We had a couple good dunks where people were putting like thing on thing on thing, and I was like, okay, that's somewhat creative. You're layering stuff onto itself. You're giving me this like thing, and you're jumping over someone. And like, I'm like, okay, you're giving me a little flavor. He was dancing far too much, really annoying.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then Jace Richardson, I think that the moment he just racked himself basically and fell and hit his head.
Mm.
Or look,
I
he
thought he
actually,
died.
I thought he just crushed his head. I think his afro actually caught it and he didn't hurt himself. But honestly, at that moment, I was like, man, this isn't a good show, and I just like, this sucks. Like, that's kind of how I felt. Like, as soon as he did that, that we were like, where's Mac McClung at?
Yeah, that's what I wanna know. Yeah, as soon as I was kind of flipping back and forth, and I made it just in time. Because like, as soon as I flipped it back to the dunks, it was right before Jace Richardson went. I was like, "Alright, well, you know who his dad is.
Yeah,
His dad put on a show back in the day, so it's
he's a
like,
few
alright,
inches shorter though.
a little bit shorter, but you know what? His old man, he did pass him the ups. He can get up there." So I was like, "Alright, this could be nice." And then I see the board, him slap off the backboard and then fell to the ground. I was immediately just, he's done for. Like this, that's terrible. You know, I felt bad for him because I probably would have just laid there, made everybody else dunk over me while I was still laying on the ground.
Good for him, that there's not as many viewers of the dunk contest as there used to be.
Yeah, maybe a little bit better. Not definitely didn't have 5 million people watching.
No. And you didn't see Shaq and people that you used to seeing there kind of like walking around and excited. And then how it ended, obviously, with a Spurs guy, Carter. He looked like he was about to win. He was giving us just enough, and you're like, okay, he's not bad. And then he blows his, and he runs out of time, and you're just like, uh
Yeah.
it just what a sour ending.
What else did you expect? I mean, that's how the night was going. You just like, why would we get something that we can look at and talk about Monday? Yeah, why would we get that right now?
But
Like,
fucking Matt McClung kind of made me mad. How dare he tell everyone he doesn't want to do it last year, but he does it anyway. He wins it again. He's a dude. People will love the
yeah,
creativity. He obviously spends some time trying to be creative, which is what the dunk contest is about, is being creative and doing cool dunks.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then he has the nerve to post his 4 dunk package that he would have done at the All-Star game. And you know what? He'd have freaking won.
You would have won.
What a
At that
jerk.
point, I don't blame him at all. I mean, once you've been there, you've won 2 or 3 in a row.
Just
What
keep
else is there to
winning.
prove?
Set the bar to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
but I
best
mean,
dunker of all time. Why not?
yeah, but I
You
mean,
got a
I get all
package.
that, but at some point, you gotta kind of move on, or else you're just a gimmick dude. Which, granted, that made him money, more money than he made playing. But I mean, at some point, it's just like, why? Okay, if the NBA is not going to take this shit seriously, and they're not going to send serious competitors to him,
Yeah.
then what is the point? He's beating all these bottom tier guys on each team. Okay, now if you give him, maybe if the NBA looks into some of these social media guys who come out and do stuff all year long, and you get invite a couple of those guys to do a dunk contest, I would probably watch at least the first one,
Well, the only
or
thing with
give him
that,
some serious competition.
the only thing with that is that they're not NBA players. I get it.
So what?
They're better than all the NBA players, but it
They're
kind of
better than the NBA players they've been giving us in the dunk contest for the better part of
I
10, 15 years.
I totally agree, but in a way, it almost comes over to show up the NBA too. That would be like
Yeah.
bringing CFL guys over to the NFL to do something better than they can, and it just doesn't look good.
Why not? If
You
it
know what I
gets
mean?
stale, why not? Why
Yeah.
not have
I mean,
a CFL NFL All-Star game, against each other? That maybe
if
that would work.
your choice was we're either going to scrap it or this, then you should choose this because it's something people are going to remember and it's still going to get you ratings and make money. So I do agree with that. But if
Mhm.
they're not considering scrapping it, they have to keep throwing their guys out there because the moment that they go to someone else, everyone's going to slander the NBA too. Also, getting ratings, they're also going to get like bad publicity. So they're never going to do that.
Well, I don't think
Yeah.
that you would get bad publicity by having
This
some
is what a
internet
real dunk
dunkers.
contest looks like. I can just see it now.
They haven't given us shit, so I don't want to hear it. So I mean, you got to do something because nobody's going to tune in and watch some practice squad guy from the Magic, a 2 minute maybe a game player, for San
Yeah.
Antonio or any other team. They're not. We just don't care because they're not the shit enough.
So
Where they're
yeah,
not enough known. If you're going to do this, it's All Star Weekend, not No Name Weekend.
yeah.
So I mean, you got to get your guys out there.
I think that the public should nominate the dunk contest. And the reason I think that is
Mhm.
because if you do the 3-point contest, that is being generated by the statistics that they're putting up. Those guys get in because they've made a lot or they have a very high percentage and have made quite a few. They are being put in there because at that very moment in the season, they actually are the best 3-point shooters this season. You have the All-Star guys that are there for being the best All-Stars of the season. The skills guys were always the best of the year. And here, then we get the slam dunk contest, and it's like, who wants to do it? I think that the
Yeah.
fans should vote. And if we had been doing that, LeBron would have been in at least one by now. Ant Edwards would be in one. John Morant.
You know damn
And you
well
know
he
what?
wouldn't be.
They don't want to do it. But at some point, you need to put a pool of people and you either force them to do it once or you have them voted on or hey, the only people that can compete, they have to play at least 20 minutes a game or 15 minutes a game because these guys were playing 9 minutes a game and they hadn't play every
Mhm.
game. So these were the blowout moments that they got their tick and they might end up being good. Carter Bryant was a lottery pick this last season. He could end up being a good Spur. He could be a rotational guy in another year or two. But at the end of the day,
He's not right now, though.
He's not right now. And so he
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing the dunk contest. That's where they're screwing it up in my mind, is they should all be rotational guys or higher that are even eligible, because all of the other things are that way. Why would the dunk contest be the outlier? That's all.
Yeah, I just have a feeling if you had the fans vote, they would put, LeBron, KD, and all those guys in, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before All-Star Weekend, it's like, man, I got a knee, I can't go, so I'm going to sit all these other games.
Everyone that has played a certain amount is in a hat, and they're all individually contacted.
Yeah.
And you have to have at least so many say yes. And if you don't have any say yes, then you send them out again a week later, and you're like, okay, we need however many more, and you try to see if anyone else was, wavering a little, and then they finally say yes. Finally, you get a pool of 10 or 20 guys, whatever your number is, and then the fans vote who they wanted.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, see, it's just a pain in the ass process, and that's a problem.
Do it.
Yeah, it's just a problem with how the NBA has just coddled these guys in the last decade, and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to go out there and play every single game. They get rest days now, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And it's not just injuries. Even if a player wasn't injured back in the day, at least there was something there that said, okay, maybe he can't go. But these guys being given choices and chances and shit, where it's like, okay, this is what the fans want. We're going to sit here and claim that we're bringing the fans back into it, and we're doing what we can to involve the fans and get them interested again. But then once the fans speak and then you take their choices away, it's like, all right, piss off. We're not even interested now anymore. And then you're left with just a failed piece of shit that nobody cares about anymore. So, and that's going to be a LeBron kind of issue. I mean, he's basically at the head of it. I mean, he's basically the guy who came out and started doing all this crap. And then everybody else just kind of followed. Well, if he's getting treated like that, well, I want to get treated like that. I don't want to play, back-to-backs. We shouldn't have but maybe 2 or 3 back-to-back games every season. Who did that come from?
Yeah. I think that, you definitely, let's just transition into the tanking thing. I think they've already stretched the schedule 2 weeks to alleviate some back-to-backs. So I think that was a good thing. Like, that was easy. You didn't have to worry about it so much. No problem. You're still going to have some back-to-backs, but you're going to have very few. If you want to say as a rule, you know what, hey, on back-to-backs, you are allowed to sit a person during the back-to-back. Okay. But outside of that, think about it from a middle-class guy and the people that are watching the content. How many sick days do you get in a year? We don't get 20 fucking sick days. Like, these guys are like, rest day, and they're supposed to play 82. Of course, they can get hurt, but they're being like freaking out. Like, oh man, 65 games or I'm not able to be an all-NBA player and I'm not eligible for my super max of like 300 million. It's like, wait a minute, guys. You're saying that that you might not be able to make 17 games, that 17 of those games you're like, I'm going to probably miss and I'm not going to be all NBA. Like, wait a minute, man. Shouldn't the rest days be like 5? Should you get 5 rest days a year? How did we get to being worried that you will miss 20 games or more every year and stuff? Like, I understand an injury is an injury, but shouldn't we just have an NBA doctor responsible for actually checking on people's injuries and it's muscle soreness and this and that? I think that the biggest issue is that these guys can say my back hurts or my knee hurts, and there's not really anything that can be done.
Yeah, no questioning or anything. I mean, because they can get away with it. They can get away with it. There's no way to monitor it. No. I mean, there's just nothing that you can do. Team doctors can be influenced and paid off. It's just all there is.
And if you have an independent NBA,
doctors can be influenced and paid off.
Yeah,
who gives a shit? They're not going to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to go out in public and say I cleared you and you're not injured and you can play. They're not going to do that. The NBA is not going to allow them to do that, and the stars aren't going to allow them to do that either. So it'd be kind of a worthless kind of deal. Now, if you want to take this and say, you get 5 rest games a year, even that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But if you're injured, you're injured. I mean, there's nothing that
Yeah.
you can do about it. And then it's like, okay, I think 100% of fans would look at it and say, you're legit injured. The last game in the third quarter, you rolled your ankle. I would suspect you'll probably be out a game or two
Yeah.
because it's going to be sore and it's going to swell.
Seeing the
So
guys
why?
not
Why do
leave
you have to go that
games
far?
injured, right? That's the thing. You see
Yeah.
them not injured, and then they end up on the injury report after the
Yeah.
games, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Blow smoke up our ass. Tell us it happened at practice. Something. But it's like there's no news, and then you have like people who get to go to maybe one NBA game a year. Maybe they go to their favorite team is coming to their local team's place, and they go to see him, and you don't hear until an hour before the game, hey, so and so is not suiting up tonight. Well, what for what?
They just, I guess
There's no reason.
I was reading and listening to Shams and people. They just made a change yesterday, maybe, that like overnight they made a change on how the injury reports delivered. But it's really to combat the concern for their betting because again, that's another layer you
Yeah.
add to that. So now the NBA injury reports, they are requested to be coming out directly after shoot around, which gives them more time to announce whether someone is out or not. Probably hours before game now is going to be the more likely thing. So I I know that they're trying for betting. In my personal opinion, I could give two fucking shits about their betting world because all of the betting apps that I've seen, usually when the player don't play, they're washed from the bet.
Mhm.
If they don't play last second and you put the bet in before when they were questionable, this and that, they end up washing or just making them not a part of the bet and you don't lose your money. So for me, you're losing out because you thought, well, Sixers are going to win, and then Embiid and Paul George don't play. And it's like, yeah, they're not going to win. But you should know that as a bettor before that they may or may not play and take that into consideration. So for me, I'm like, I don't fucking care about your betting world at all. None. You should already be taking that into consideration. That's what we do all year with fantasy football. We think about who's going to play and how they're going to perform. And I'm supposed to be feeling sorry that this guy lost his ass on the Sixers. Like, you should have known they weren't going to play. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, you should have known. Well, I mean, I don't think they look at that aspect of it as close because when their poster child LeBron doesn't play, the Lakers actually win more.
I think it's the fans.
You know,
Would
so
you
I
agree
think
that go? That's what they're really thinking. The fans that go to the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fans that go to the game, yeah, not necessarily the ones that watch. Who gives a shit? It's on TV. You're not really paying
Watch
anything
something
for it.
else
But when
if you're
you're
that pissed.
yeah, so I would say, the ones that are actually going, who are paying to go see the product that they're doing. But I would say it's ridiculous. The NBA is reaping what it has sowed the last few years and just making it almost unbearable to watch. I mean, there's not really anything outside of 3-pointers anymore. And now I saw rumors of a 4-point line. No, there's already too much heaving going on right now as it is.
I seen the exact opposite. Also, I saw they talked about getting rid of the 3-point line.
That's stupid. That's overkill.
I'm almost a little enthralled by that. They said that there was also a possibility that they would have teams play, and they said that they would allow teams to decide whether they want their 2-point shot or 3-point shot each year. That they would allow each one to choose whether they want it or not on their home court. So they said it's like the DH version of the NBA, and they would have teams like, okay, the Bucks, we got Giannis, fuck the 3-point line, we're gonna kill you. No 3-point line. Golden State comes in, they're having a much harder time dealing with these big physical Milwaukee. Milwaukee can roll them. Big physical game, twos, free throw line, all that. You bring the old school back. Now you have more of an incentive later in the year if you're Milwaukee. You're trying to get a high seed because you want to play home games. You want to play on your court because of your advantage, of your style of play. And then other teams are like, man, we really can't let Milwaukee beat us on the seeding. We need the 3-point line. And it's like, honestly, that is so weird and it sounds so stupid and wrong to do that it's almost interesting enough to do. I'm actually very curious how that would go. I think you'd have to vote, and I think it would be too messy and difficult to figure out. But like, I can't imagine being like 15 teams have one and 15 don't, and how they play against each other. And I feel like that is fascinating as a sports nerd, but it's probably not the right thing to do. I'm just saying it seems really fascinating.
That does not sound appetizing in the least bit to me. You gotta have the 3-point line.
Well, some teams would.
I think every team would. I think if you're looking at this genuinely and you're given option A and option B,
Yeah.
there's no second option in this. You
Well,
have to have a
like
3-point line
Milwaukee, if they
because
make the
it's a way to get back into the shit quick.
yeah, but if Milwaukee they go to the finals, even if they have home field advantage, they have 3 road games possibly. They have to go and win with the 3-point line, and maybe they haven't been
Yeah.
shooting them that much. They played half their games on the road, and only
Uh,
so many have been 3-point, and it's very interesting. I just say like that's one of those. If you've ever played fantasy football, there's certain ways to play it. We had a vampire league
mhm.
one year that was actually fascinating in its own way. Total chaos and anarchy as a fantasy football league. Not recommended for a true fan. But at the same time, it's so crazy that it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kinda like going in baseball used to be in the World Series when you went to the American League parks, you would have a DH, and when you went to the National League park, you would not have a DH, and now
You'd
it's
have
kinda
your
like,
pitcher.
okay, you have a DH no matter what now.
Right.
So,
And it probably
I think
improved
that's better,
baseball. I
but
agree.
I think that that idea just needs to get scrapped right away and just set on fire, never mentioned again.
Take it behind the burn.
Yeah, you
That's
wanna
all right.
talk about tanking. The teams that are gonna be tanking or will say, "Yeah, we don't want a three-point line. We
Fuck
kinda
it.
fucking wanna lose. Fuck it, let's go."
That's an interesting point. So going back to the tanking conversation a little bit, I have an idea for the fans. I'm trying to think of all the layers why it's a problem. For betting, we talked about. For the fans, as we're talking now, I have an idea. If you're in LA and you sit your star player late, and you know that you have sold a bunch of tickets in the last few days coming up, right? You know this. You got season ticket holders. When you sit your star player, they have fan nights, right? They give away stuff. Guess what? You're giving away some real expensive shit that night. You want to sit
Mhm,
your star player, you're not out $10 t-shirts, you're out $50, $80 hoodies to every
mhm,
fucking person there.
yep,
I mean, take the fucking hit like a man. You want to sit there and bench your star guy that everyone came to see. If you want to do that, you can. But guess what? Your
yeah,
fans are getting something out of it. They're going to come back and go, I spent $200 for this ticket, but fuck, I mean, I really only spent 100 on it, really.
mhm.
I feel
Well,
like
the
that's an
problem is
obvious thing. You just force them, like, hey, if you sit your star player, that you have to give away an awesome gift, and there has to be a certain amount of money involved for that. The
well,
fans get it.
yeah, get a voucher for the pro shop or something like that,
Something.
but
Yeah, give away something really awesome to every fan who didn't get to see LeBron. Because Kobe, he made a point to make sure he played at every road game, road place at 40 years old, even though he wasn't as good and it's his swan song, he made a point to play at every single arena in the country that he played for or played against. Is
mhm,
LeBron going to do that? Who knows? But dude, you shouldn't make
no.
the fans pay because it's our designated rest day. You're not even injured. They're there to watch you play. They're spending their hard-earned money.
Well, the problem you run in with that, I mean, I think the people who aren't, who are not the season ticket holders, who go to a game, maybe 2 every year, it's their opportunity to be there, and they're going to drop money on a jersey or a new shirt or something. They're gonna spend money regardless of who's playing.
You don't need
They're
to
gonna
now.
go because that's the only well, yeah, but I'm just saying this is probably why they won't do that is
Yeah.
because they're still making bank on that apparel and shit when people only get to go to a game and take advantage of it. Hey, when's the next time I'm gonna be here? I want to get this cool jersey while I'm here.
I
It's the only
think
place you can get it.
you can give away a standard one, but it just needs to be higher
Yeah,
value, I guess. So when you said voucher, I'm like, yeah, maybe that's the easier thing is everyone picks up their voucher. I don't really care how it's done, but like,
yeah, and it comes out of whoever's sitting. It comes out of their paycheck.
well, you can't do that because maybe the player wanted to play, but the franchise is like, look, this is the playoff stretch. We got to make sure you're fresh.
Yeah. Well, if you fine them, then the fine money goes to pay for the vouchers.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm thinking, there's
There's ways.
16 to 20,000 people in there. Times it by about $50. I don't care how it gets done, but if you want to worry about the fans, that's how you do it in my mind.
Hey,
Yeah, now
pocket change, man.
the tanking now, it seems like people are more enthralled with the draft picks. Now, when I read about it, it seems like the tanking's out of hand for more reasons than just the number one pick. It's about Well, they decided you could protect your pick. I think that's what they've actually accidentally created, because now you can trade your draft pick, but you put protections on it. But I'll
Yeah.
top 4 protected, top 10 protected, lottery protected. So when these teams are on the cusp of that, they decide to tank to make sure they keep their pick. If we really don't think we're going to win a championship this year, and we're only 5 games above that threshold, let's just tank. They all
Yeah.
decide to do it, and I think that they need to get rid of the protections to some degree, and they need to just put like top 4 protected, which I saw them talking about it on a sports show today. You should really only be trying to protect your pick or have a protection for the off chance that you are the worst team basically in the league. You shouldn't have
Yeah.
these protections of like, well, we might make playoffs, we might not, and then you tank hard enough. I guess like the somebody last year, the Clippers or somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they tanked hard enough to get their pick back. I think it was the Sixers, and they got Edgecombe. They were close enough; they were going to be a playoff team, and then they tanked hard enough to keep their pick, and then they draft Edgecombe. Which look at that, like hey, they were rewarded for tanking. So I understand like how people are like, we can't keep doing this. I think, dude, what is your take? Like, how do they fix tanking from a draft pick standpoint? What would you do for the lottery, or what would you say or do to try to be able to fix this rewarding losing?
I sure as hell wouldn't do what Adam Silver said the other day
The tournament,
and making it a free agency.
oh, free agency.
You know,
That one's even worse.
yeah,
Yes,
I would say no because your bad teams are always going to be bad if you do that
no one's
because
going to those small markets that suck.
there's
Ever.
not going to be any kid, especially coming out of college, where they can make NIL money and pull in 10 million a year in college.
Might as well
They're
sell
gonna,
Sacramento to
I'm not,
Vegas.
yeah, I'm not gonna come into the league at 10 or 11 million a year and be on a shit franchise when I can just be like, I'll take a little bit less money and I'll go to LA or I'll go to New York or somewhere where I can actually be on a winning team. So I think it's stupid. I think you're tanking. I don't think that there's a way that you can actually stop it. I mean, they're going to find ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't matter what rules you put in place, they're going to find a way to do it. It's just like when you say, okay, you can only have so many rest days a year, they're going to find a way around it. It's just how it is now. It's like, where's the loophole and how quick can I get there? It was like, you can change things up for a season, but I guarantee you by season 2, it's going to be like, all right, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
This is what we can do to get out of this. And there's nothing you can do. So for Adam Silver to come out and say some stupid shit like that, it just shows why they're in the decline so bad.
Yep.
I don't think like I said, I don't think you can actually get rid of tanking completely. Like you can maybe monitor lineups, and actually have like a minimum games played or something like that. Unless it's like a severe injury and the guy's ligaments are falling off. But it just, who's injured on your team? Is your number one star injured and out for the year? You get a pass. I'm sorry, but you get a pass.
Yeah.
Is your number 3 player injured and out for the year? Okay, well, you don't necessarily get a pass because you got 2 all-stars ahead of him.
Yeah.
Okay, it really has to do with roster deals and how they're set up. Who is injured on your team that's going to prevent you from going out and playing hard to win games? Who? Pacers would have a legit bitch. They also have Pascal Siakam, who's still playing out of his mind this year. They still have everybody else except for Halliburton, but everybody can say Halliburton is the heart and soul of the Pacers, and it starts and stops at him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the only real logical thing that you can do is just say, how many injuries are you carrying? Literally, like legit injuries are you carrying, and how many minutes can these guys go? Yeah. And you got to kind of look at it like that, and then maybe put in like an incentive around them or something like that. Like if you're not tanking, then we'll put your name in the hat, a couple more times to maybe help your lottery pick. But you're not going to stop it completely. And I don't even really know if there's a way to fix it. I mean, you got to kind of just let it go. I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to tank, and they've tanked for 5 years in a row, and they still aren't any good.
Yeah.
So what can you do? I mean, besides maybe put them at the bottom of the list,
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are drafting 30th.
I agree that there's not really a lot. They can bounce a lot of ideas around. The The idea, obviously, is if you try too hard to get rid of the tanking, you're going to end up possibly screwing the bad teams where they stay bad forever. So you have
Yep.
to, that's a very fine line, that balance to ride and try to make it work. I think that the idea of a full on tournament is a bad idea because
Hmm.
then the best teams, roster wise, that just missed the playoffs are going to win the tournament and they'll get the top pick. And so the teams at the bottom that really do have the worst roster, they're going to stay there under that circumstance. So I think the whole tournament is a bad idea. I think the free agency is a bad idea. Same concept, right? Bad teams stay bad. I do think that if you wanted to do some kind of a flat rate, and I would be okay the whole way through. Everyone gets like a
Yeah.
7% chance. If they did that, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is terrible, because they give you no incentive to just lose as much as possible because everybody who misses playoffs gets the same amount. Everyone will just play and play the development. They don't pull them in the fourth like the Utah Jazz did the other day and lose the game. You know, they would be just playing their guys, working on them, making them better, situational basketball, gaining that experience. So I'm okay with a flat rate and everyone gets the same amount. And if the teams that are at the bottom stay bad, I think they're
Yeah.
going to get better because they're going to play. They're not going to get pulled in the fourth quarter. They could win that game because they're playing well that game. So I think that, you know, that's all right. And then you got the chances, right? The odds. They're going to win out eventually. The Utah Jazz, well, they should have got the number one pick 3 years in a row, but they missed out. Well, their number's going to be called. They're going to get the three, or the lottery's going to be favorable to them, and they're going to get their opportunity to get a star player. So I think another idea I saw was have the top four picks, have those teams play a small tournament during the playoff run or something. I don't really care if you go from 4-1 because you won the tournament. If you fall because you lost that tournament, you're still getting a top four pick. If they wanted to do that, I wouldn't really freak out and just say that's just so unconsciously bad. I can't believe they would do that. That wouldn't really be. That would just be giving us more to watch and more kind of content, and so that wouldn't really be a problem. But you can't do a full tournament, and you can't do free agency. So that's my stance. I hope that they don't change anything drastically, especially like they can't screw the Pacers at this point. It's already in stone that we already traded our pick with the protections and everything. But I think taking those protections and saying you can't do any protection unless you protect just the top couple picks, otherwise your pick is completely forgive like to someone else,
Hmm.
then you're just not gonna. If you're a good team, you're not gonna tank from. Well, we was going to get the 13th pick, but we're going to go all the way down to 4. Like, you're probably not going to be able to do that. So I think that that's safe enough. Just
Yeah.
remove the protections. If you want to make flat rate, make it just a fucking full on fucking put their names in a hat. I don't really care, but you can't do the things that they're talking about because those are clearly wrong.
Yeah. Well, what makes it so tricky is intent is so hard to prove, and you can't sit there and look at it and be like, unless there's something glaringly obvious, fucking Tony's shaving points, whatever, and
Terry
it's obvious
Rozier.
something's going on, something else is going on that makes it obvious that, you intercept emails or you get team chatter that's like, hey, saying, hey, we need to lose, 5 out of every 7 games, we need to lose.
And
Unless you catch some people doing some stuff like that, you can't really prove it. So there's really nothing you can do to
And
punish them.
even then, dude, ownership and the GMs, if they fucking make the decision to lose because they think that AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson or whoever's going to change their, like, that's what they need, and they're sitting there with
Hmm.
no stars and stuff, like, who are you to tell them that they can't do what they need to do to be able to acquire that player? Like, honestly, like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, they're
Yeah.
making a business decision to lose, and it sucks to lose. So, like you said before, really not a fix on tanking. It's frustrating. I think they could tweak it slightly to make it a little better. I guess the problem they're having is there's a lot of teams considering tanking and resting, and it just seems like everyone can be doing it now. You rest them for the playoffs. You rest them so you don't win. You try to tank to fall out of the play-in and be in the lottery. They're having tanking in all facets in every circumstance. I think they've created that nonsense with all the bullshit they've done. And so yeah, they do need
Yeah.
to tweak it a little. But to try to sit here and be like, you can't get a pick because you lost. That is the essence of how it works. Well, it has no problem with any form of tanking because that is just the way it works. Like the worst teams get the best pick, and then that doesn't fix shit. They got to do a good job. It doesn't fix
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, take away the lottery aspect. Just take away the lottery, and the NFL. Granted, it's not. You have the Browns are in the top 5 no matter what almost every year.
Right. They don't like perpetual, every year teams. It's like they want to be there every year. They're not making any
Let
money.
them. I mean, if you want to keep putting, it's basically an incentive for the owners. It's like put a winning product on the field, and if you want to be losers, it's your money. Do what you want with it. If you want to pick first through fifth every single year, go ahead, Jets. Go ahead, Browns. Do what you're going to do. You're going to be up here all the time. You're going to suck. People aren't going to watch you. You're always going to have your loyal fans to every team. Every team's going to have loyal fans no matter what. But it's like, okay, you want to be a laughingstock, be a laughingstock. We don't care. So, and the NBA has nobody to blame but themselves for doing the things that they've done and allowing the things, on the players to get away with what they've allowed them to get away with. It's basically been like, all right, our leadership has had no testicles.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. The players run the league. And when you let the inmates run the asylum, bad shit's going to happen.
Yeah, and the NFL, you don't have guys in such an aggressive sport even thinking about resting.
No?
And then baseball, okay, let's take it the other way. Baseball, 160 games. I don't ever hear anyone resting. Now, you could say, well, it's not as physical exerting. Well, they do play every day, and they play twice as many.
Sometimes 2 games a day. two games a day.
Because of rain and things happen, postponements. So, like, hold on.
Yeah.
These guys are playing twice as many games as the NBA, and they're playing every day, and it's like outside. Sometimes it's hot as shit. It's almost like, you know what? Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Like, the NBA is not in a situation where their athletes can act with such privilege to be treated so differently compared to the rest of the athletes in the world. Like, at some point, they have to own what they're doing also. Like, hold on. This craft deserves integrity from me. So.
And there's no integrity at all. It's basically, I would like to call that the past probably 10 years of NBA the Diddy era. There's just nothing. It's like just being lazy, not really doing anything, worried too much about your outlook, and you're worried about your entrepreneurship outside of the game. You're worried about your face, worried about social media clout, worried about collaborating with people, being in movies, being in TV shows, producing and directing TV shows. It's like taking credit for another team's assists, take credit for another team winning and everything. Well, I like to think that I had something to do with that team coming together and playing hard. Shut up, dude. You are not.
LeBron's pass to Donovan Mitchell, and then Donovan Mitchell's pass to De'Aaron Fox, and he's like, yeah, I was the assist to the assist.
Yeah.
I found Donovan Mitchell, and he was able to find De'Aaron Fox. It's like, you understand that
without me, that wouldn't have happened.
You understand those two made the play, right? You got no statistic for that at all.
Yeah, none at all. But, down by 16, and he's supposed to be hurt with an ankle, he's not going to come out with, 2 minutes left so he can get his last little triple-double stat. Fuck LeBron.
So, what was I going to say? So, anyway, the tanking thing.
He's such a bitch. Did I make that clear yet?
No.
Oh, okay. I hate LeBron James. I'll just make that clear.
The tanking thing aside, let's move on to the next thing here.
Let's move on.
We got to talk today, NFL news. Tyreek Hill was cut. The last we saw him, he decided to sacrifice his knee for the greater good. And everyone's already talking, oh, where's he going to go? Miami's paying him a lot of money to not play for him. So there's that.
You're going to get that all the time.
So now, where is he going to go? I do want to point out that he is not healthy. I think that he's only going to go somewhere that wants to wait for him to get healthy, and they only need a little bit out of him. Right away, I thought going back to Kansas City.
I think that's the only option on the table right now is Kansas City, and that may be the only thing. You can make up things for other teams, sure, to make it interesting, but I think it's probably 90-10.
Yeah.
He goes to Kansas City, and 10% he goes somewhere else.
For sure. I mean,
familiarity plus Eric Bieniemy's coming back.
if he kept anything in his crawl, maybe he has a little bit of a crawl thing against the Chiefs. Could he go to
Gross.
like Buffalo? Maybe.
I don't think they would have him.
I give it 9% Buffalo, and then 1% someone else, because I can see
Well,
him
yeah.
going to a rival of Kansas City. You have to also look at it and say Denver, maybe
No.
right in the division if you wanted to be petty. But really, it seems likely people want to say Colts, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. All these places he could go. He could go probably 10 different places, and you're like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Probably going to
Mhm.
Kansas City. I don't see any way that he won't.
More than likely. Yeah, you gotta think, because it's shaping up. They're not gonna have Mahomes for at least, I would say, at least half the season.
So you could have him
So, I
holding
mean,
clipboards together.
you could have them together, rehabbing together, getting refamiliar with each other.
Let me
He
tell
doesn't
you
have to
how
play
it
right now,
goes.
like, because Tyreek is probably at least gonna miss the first 4 games next year, at least, if not more.
It was
So, if you have him come back after, we'll just conservative call it 6 weeks, and, Mahomes
Topless.
comes back maybe week 7, week 8, depending on where their bye week falls, and then you could have Mahomes come back not too long after. I
Yeah.
mean, then it would make sense, and then maybe it would be worth it, but
Yeah, like
he's
Hollywood
not.
Hollywood Brown wasn't available until late in the year. So I mean,
Mm,
expect the same thing from, Tyreek Hill. He's gonna go to a team and have that scenario. Don't draft him on fantasy football really high.
yeah, don't.
Ayuk never even played. I got screwed on that. He never even played.
Yeah,
So
good job on that one.
yeah, well, you thought, hey, he's obviously the best. Debo's gone, and I thought he would play. And then he didn't. So, and
Mhm.
now he's like doesn't even answer their fucking phone call. So it's who the
Yeah, he just might be done
new phone,
overall.
who dis?
Yeah, right. No, you got to remember Tyreek is like a couple weeks away from turning 32. So he's I think on the decline as far as, their prime goes. But even if he was in prime right now, shredding your knee like he did, that probably took 3 years off his career, I would think.
Probably at least
He's
two.
definitely not gonna. He's definitely not gonna have. If he was in his prime right now, he could maybe have one more prime year and then decline before the injury. Now he's just straight decline
Yeah.
because it's so bad. I mean, he could come back. He can still be productive,
Yes.
but he's not going to be 115 catches, 1,700 yards. That way bye bye a long time ago.
He said that he would play Madden to do his scouting and to get ideas on how to move. And it's like, I think he might actually have to watch film.
You got to watch actual tape,
I
bud.
think he's gonna have to actually watch some game tape. So
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm interested to see what happens, but I definitely feel like you're vulnerable, you're injured, you're at the end of your career,
Got a lot of
you
kids.
kids, you want to go somewhere you feel comfortable, and to me, it's clear and obvious it'll be Kansas City. I mean, without even, if you make a huge hard argument he's not going there, then you must know some falling out that hasn't been reported. The worst thing he ever said about Kansas City was, Tua throws a pretty accurate ball, Mahomes, but I mean Tua. It's like, oh,
Well,
okay.
everybody knew that was shit.
I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, that was the worst thing he ever said. So it's like, this isn't Antonio Brown. He has diva in him, and he's eccentric, but he's also really fun. He was really good at
Mhm.
his career, and he,
Yeah,
from what we could see, had good relationships. So yeah, he's going back to Kansas City.
more than likely. Yeah, it's pretty much a. I think it's pretty without having ink to paper yet. I think that's the most likely outcomes. I don't know, but you go from like his first couple seasons with Miami, and then you go to his last two. I mean, if you look at the stats, it's night and day. I mean, he
Yeah.
came out just blazing, and then it's been rough ever since. So I kind of look at that and it's like you're not getting top dollar right now. You're definitely not going to get that because you are not producing top dollar money. So you're not going to get top dollar money.
Yep.
So if that's going to be the case, if no team is going to give him the money that he wants, then the only thing that you can do is go to the best place where you're most familiar with the surroundings and
Mm-hmm.
the other players and the coaching staffs. And that would be Kansas City.
Yep. The only two
Obvious.
teams he's ever played for, Miami and Kansas City. Right. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's obvious. We'll move on. to college football.
Move on.
Yes, we know that the season has ended, but they are already talking about future formats. And I know a lot of people have been discussing the CFP layout and how many teams. And I think me and Jay, we're pretty good with 12. Would you say, Jay, you like the 12?
12, there's no reason to move on from 12 right now. Is the format is perfect.
I do see one thing that we're talking about. They said, when you think about it, the first four guys, they get a bye. And then the other top four teams, they play at home in round one and host a playoff game. And I looked at that and I thought, that does give it room to just go ahead and open it to a 16. And then the top four teams, they don't get a bye, but they get a home game that they can bring and let their crowds in all its capacity. The Michigan Dome, 100 and some thousand people, they have a top 8 team. They get to host a game at their home in round one. I do like the idea of creating a tradition where everyone that's in the top 8 hosts a home game round one, and then it starts bowl games. Feels very clean, very consistent the whole way through. I like the idea of going to 16, but I am good with staying at 12. But that does feel like also good is 16 for me. I don't want it to go any bigger than that by far. 16 feels like it could be done.
No, and I like the 12 team format. Honestly, I wish that the home team, the higher ranked team, even in the second round, would get a home game. That like you would be able to bring a CFP game.
You could do that
to their stadium.
Especially,
I would like to see that.
They're losing those games right now, 7 out of 8, right? So they maybe they should be getting the home game, right, to help with the rust and the layoff. You don't want the top teams losing every year. Maybe they should.
Yeah,
maybe they're not that good, but the other teams are like in rhythm coming in, and they had a home game last week, and then they have a neutral game, and it's like maybe they should be more of a favorite in these such circumstances because maybe there's not a lot of distance between 1 and 8, right? Maybe there's not that much distance. Now, IU showed that there was against Alabama, but with the other teams, all got beat, all of them. So,
yeah, I did like looking at it. I did like the fact that they took it to where the top four conference winners, conference champions will get 1 through 4. So that means Ohio State wouldn't have been second this year. They would have been at the very least
maybe
5th.
5, yeah.
But they would have hosted a playoff game. So, I would prefer that.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, maybe it would say, okay, well, Duke would have gotten a first round bye. So the hell what? They're a conference champion deserves to be there.
That is
if you win your conference. Yeah. If you win your conference, I don't give a damn. You should be in the college football playoff if you win your conference, especially if it's a Big 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be there. I like that build up a little bit better because I feel like you're rewarding Ohio State or anybody for that matter to go to your conference championship and lose a game. Now, granted, I still thought going into it, Ohio State was still the second best team in the nation. I still thought that.
And that might be why it's that way right now, but I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if they move them back to 5 and they give them a home playoff game to start off, whoever they're coming in they're probably going to blow them out, and that gives them a little bit more momentum to move on. And then maybe they don't lose, back-to-back games, even with a bye week.
Yeah, maybe not.
So it could change, the fortunes of those bye week teams to say, okay, well, we were ranked 3rd in the nation when all was said and done, even after the conference championships. We're not going to put you at 3 because that would give you a bye. You're going to have to play in, man. You're just going to have to do it. You didn't win your conference. Sorry.
Another thing to think too with 16 is, that means that Notre Dame, Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, they would have to change the rule to if Notre Dame finishes within the top 16, they get an automatic bid. Paperwork.
That would mean that Notre Dame, BYU, Vanderbilt, and maybe like Texas, they would have got in, right? Tell me those wouldn't have been hard outs, but then they would have been playing on the road against IU, Ohio State, Texas Tech. I'm looking Georgia. I'm looking at that. I'm saying, you know what? Those are going to be hard games for you guys to play. You're getting home games. That I like the bye, but honestly, I'm pretty good either way on this. I'm pretty 50-50. The one I saw now, the SEC is the one that said 16, right? And apparently. we do have to disagree with the Big Ten guy. The Big Ten
Yep.
guys, they are trying to get 24. And they
That's retarded.
said
Sorry,
they
but it is.
said no division champ or conference championship games. They said no, we're going to eliminate it completely. We're going to have a 12-game regular season, top 24 by ranking, period, BCS style. They get in 24 teams, 8 teams get a bye or some crazy shit, I don't know. And yeah, we'll just do it that way. And I'm like, that's horse shit. That is bad.
Yeah, that's a very, very bad idea. And I would say whoever came up with that Big Ten should be fired probably today.
I think it's a money grab.
It's a loss of money if you ask me. I mean, you don't have any conference championships.
Well, yeah, but you think they get one conference championship or they get 4 teams hosting Big Ten games if they have a good enough teams, right? You could have had IU, Ohio State, Oregon, and you might even can get another one in the top 8. They would have a home game. That's 4 games you're getting instead of a conference championship game. Like, I think it sounds greedy to me. Well, yeah, we're going to be boastful. We're just going to have more money pouring into the Big Ten conference. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, if you're running the Big Ten right now, then the last thing that you should be running is your mouth. Because the last 3 champions have come from the Big Ten. What more can you want? The 12-team format. Ohio State won the first one. Indiana just won this one. You're 2-0. You're 3 of the last 3 titles you brought home. So let it go. I mean, just keep it rolling until something happens where you're in a Notre Dame situation and you get screwed. And like, well, bend the rules for us.
I think
so. Leave it alone.
I think it's the decline of the bowl games too. I think that they're seeing, you know what?
There's too many bowl games.
CFP is going to generate the money. So if we let more teams in the CFP, there's more money because no one cares about the bowl games. So they're trying to make, basically create a tournament in an NIT bowl game style. Like they're trying to create a tournament and make money on all those games because they're like, oh man, Notre Dame and then the bowl games didn't make no money, didn't play. Like we're not making money on that end, right? Only 12 teams made money for the rest of at that drop off in December. No one else made any money or brought the league money. So I think it's about greed.
Let's not forget they declined to play in that bowl game, so it was their own damn fault.
I know, but like no one's watching or paying for those bowl games. Like they don't care. So everyone's watching the CFP. Everyone's like, hey, this is the fucking playoffs. Let's go. And they're like, well, if more teams, more money. I think it's just like
if you get rid of
reaction.
Well, if you can get rid of like the, Dad's brand dog food bowl, that nobody really gives a damn about, you got your New Year's 6. I think you don't make this, you make the CFP its own thing. You don't give it bowl games. You don't. You just make it CFP. Maybe you give them some neutral sites, but you don't give them bowl game titles. Save the bowl games for the other maybe top. You go from the top 12. Maybe you make it the rest of like the top 30 or 40 teams, get a bowl bid. They go play in some bowl games, some high-end bowl games, and give them some money, give the prizes to the kids, let them go have fun. And then just leave the bowls like the Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and all that stuff. Just leave it for outside of the top 12. You know what I mean? That whole playoff run. Just don't give them bowl titles.
They're used to getting all of the best teams. They're like, no one's going to watch our product. They don't want to pay for it. And the tradition, you can't just scrap it.
There's still good teams that are not going to be in the tournament. You're going to have good teams that are there.
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, it's college football. I watched every bowl game that I could because college football is it for me.
Yeah.
I love college football. I prefer college football over NFL any day of the week. I will watch every single bowl game that is broadcast that is not, lame. Like, you have your Division III and your Division II tournaments and stuff like that. I don't watch, but even if there's like a MAC game on, I'll watch it. I like watching MAC football.
You're going to watch Georgia State and somebody in a game?
Why not?
Come on, man.
Why not? It's teams that you don't really get to see all the time.
Yeah.
And if they're going to be good enough to make, a nice bowl, it's like, okay, watch them. Watch it and see what's going on with them. And then that will give them a smaller school airtime at a decent bowl game where other kids who are watching, trying to make a decision on where they're going to go to school could be like, well, this is interesting. And then we really get to see them play very much and you kind of expose them to it. I think that would be a better idea.
Yeah. I did see too the Big Ten, the commissioner of them, whoever he was like,
Patiti.
we'll do the 16 for 2 years as long as we then do the 24. So they even tried to
He's an idiot.
leverage. They tried to leverage the SEC of like, yeah, we'll do your thing as long as we end up doing my thing.
Yeah. As long as you guarantee that I get to do mine, we'll do yours. Stupid.
And then it's like, and then it expires in 31. The CFP will expire, and like they'll have to create a new deal. And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, what I don't want is for the CFP to be changing constantly all the time. They need to find the sweet spot and stick with it and create the tradition of what we expect, because you don't want to say, well, yeah, well, back in my day, the CFP was only 4, and then that's who won. It's way easier now or harder now. And you don't want there to be such differences. We already have the BCS thing from when we were young, and it was only 1, 2. And now you got this, now you had 4, and now you have 12. And it's like they need to find the spot and stop having these discussions of how they can make more money and how they can fix the bowl games. And I think 16 is doable, but I think that if they stay at 12, that's good. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to freak out if it goes to 16.
Yeah, and you can't have a good thing for too long before people want it changed. It's like, okay, there's always going to be little tweaks that you can make to any system that will make it maybe run a little bit better. But you can't always do that, because then everybody's going to be like, well, there's this other little tweak that we want. There's this other little tweak that we want. And you're constantly making changes until you're left with something that's like, we came up with something organically and it worked. It worked great.
Yeah.
Until we let these talking heads come in and get into our minds and start running the sticks. Like, you can't do that. I mean, if you're the NCAA right now, you're going to be like, you guys just shut the hell up and let us run what we've been running, and it's been working. The last 2 years have been fine. Well, they have been fine.
They've said that the CFP is like kind of separate from the NCAA to some degree. Like, they're different people. And like people are like saying that the NCAA is upset because they don't have enough influence on the CFP.
Well,
and I'm like, you know what? If they're not a part of it, keep them the fuck out of it.
Yeah, the CFP is basically just a sorority of guys who pick the teams and all that. It's kind of like the March Madness people who come in and pick the teams. It's, either you're going to have a bias here and there, but I mean, there's really nothing there. They rarely do they get it just mind-numbingly wrong. Okay. This year they had a really tough choice to make, but I still feel like they made the right choice.
Yeah.
You can argue about James Madison if you want to.
Yeah.
But you cannot argue about Miami. You can't argue the fact that they made it in over Notre Dame and Texas.
Honestly, the better argument is probably Alabama is the best argument, because they got the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, so, but they did beat Oklahoma.
But they beat Oklahoma.
So, I mean, they did win a game. So, I mean, they deserve to be at least in that matchup.
You're like, okay, they're like as good or a little better than Oklahoma, which then made it seem like they should be in the CFP. So it's still like you can, James Madison playing. Look, that's the situation that we're in. And I think that a 16 might help alleviate that if you keep the same rule or whatever. I don't think you need Power 5. I think you go to a Fab 4. Like, I don't know why we have to have a Power 5. It's clear and obvious that there's 4 elite conferences. If you want to move into those conferences, the ACC will probably welcome some good teams in there because they can probably use a couple. They don't have that many great teams. So a Power 5 is too big in itself. You get 4. I was probably what I'd rather see change more is them go down from Power 5. No offense to Tulane and James Madison, but we knew. And what year is it going to be that somebody like that's going to beat an Ole Miss at 5 or 6? Like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
Probably not anytime soon.
It's not March Madness. It's not the same.
It's definitely not the same. But, I mean, I think that this year they tried to make it like March Madness, and maybe James Madison was the wrong choice.
And I think 24 makes it seem like they're really still trying to make it March Madness.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you have to leave it at 12. I mean, tell everybody just to piss off and just like, let us do what we're here to do. And I would say that this past playoff was probably the most entertaining out of the two. Watching, you saw, I mean, I think a lot of people went into it thinking, Ohio State's probably going to run the table just because they're at 8, but they're a lot better than that. So they're going to probably run the table. probably get to the title game at the very least. But this year was you had a 10 seed make the final.
Yeah. And I
So
think
I
that's
mean,
your best case of March Madness you're going to get.
best case scenario, yeah, I think that's about as good as it's going to get, at least in football.
Because 11 and 12 was the two teams that people probably didn't want to have in there. So your 10
Absolutely.
that you barely put in, they went. There's your March Madness.
But they
Don't
also
get
said
too-
they also said a 16 would never beat a 1, and we've had it happen twice in the last couple years. So there's going to be probably a time where a 12 will beat a 5 or an 11 will beat a 6. It could happen, but football's a lot different than basketball.
I agree. So you said you wanted to keep it 12. So do you think they should make the change to the 4 teams getting home games then that are on bye?
I think yes. I think
Is
think
that too much of an advantage for the already
No.
getting a bye? Do you think
No.
people would say it's unfair, or is that like warranted? It's like, dude, they're the 4 best
No,
teams
I
in
think
the world here.
I think if you do that, I think you see these bye week teams stop losing. I think if you give them a home game, it kind of when you're telling them, okay, you get a week off, which is basically 3 weeks off, because after the conference games and before everything starts, you basically give them 3 weeks off, and you expect them to get hyped up at a bowl game 800 or 900 miles away from campus.
Yeah.
And when you can bring them in and actually have them host a game, get their rowdy fans going, give them something to watch. Granted, it's going to be colder than tits outside, but I think it would give more of an incentive. It may help that what is it now, 1-8 record that they have,
1-7, yeah.
1-7. Maybe that'll help.
Yep.
You know, it's like, okay, well, whoever goes to the second round, we know none of the bye week teams are going to win because they've been off forever. So
I think
that would help with that.
I think that if they do that, that actually could help their scheduling too, because a lot of people want them to move the schedule up and get rid of some of these gaps. And if they do that, then they can play. How many big bowl games do they have? 4, 5, 6? Because
what they definitely call the New Year's Six.
The New Year's Six. So you could rotate them, right? So if you did the first round, everyone gets home game. Then the second round, the bye teams, they get their home game. Now you've got 4 teams left. 2 of them, you can have 2 bowl games, like you were talking. And then the other 4 are going to be the guys that missed the playoff. And they're going to have all the best teams that just barely missed. And you're going to, hey, this is our swan song to finish the year. And then the next year, those 2 rotate out for a new 2. And it's their turn to have the 2 semifinals before you play the championship game. And so you got
it's almost
2
like
games.
It's what I said.
Shut up, Mitch. In an effort to make the home games for the bye teams to help them get a little bit of a better chance instead of having this rust, you move the schedule up. You get those New Year's 6. You move it up so that those 2 games fall in that New Year area. Then your national championship is only about a week or so, 10 days into January. That probably makes everybody feel like, hey, this is what we want. That's how I look at that. I'm like, there you go. There's your answer, probably.
Yeah, and you could sell the games in the tournament without having to put a bowl title on them as well. If you want to make the semifinal and then the championship a bowl game, okay. But I mean, I would say I'm almost saying would be like, okay, you're going to have the 2 semifinal games at the same spot. You know, maybe not call it, a Cotton Bowl, and then you have to turn around and redecorate the field for another bowl or something like that, but it's like have somebody sponsor the blah, blah, blah CFP semifinal wherever.
Yeah.
So
and that's kind of how March Madness does it. They share the same court and they run a few games out of there that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would be on board with that. And then, the CFP title game, you don't have to call it anything else. It's the national championship.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's all you need. You don't need bowl titles to sell these games. I mean, you can give those other bowls, like, what would you say the biggest bowl would be? The Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah.
How many teams who didn't make the playoffs? Okay, the top 2 teams that didn't get in, you guys are going to go to the Rose Bowl because that's the premier bowl to be in. But who's going to turn that down?
I know, but Jay, it's not prestigious anymore if everyone's playing to get a CFP.
Who gives a shit? You didn't make it. You weren't good enough to make it into the playoffs. Sorry about you. But hey,
they used to be the Rose Bowl would have like the 3 and the 5 playing each other. It's a little different when it's the 13 and the 15. To be fair,
I'm saying you don't need it. If the Rose Bowl is so prestigious, make it the national championship every year.
It sells itself, I thought is what you were going to say.
Yeah, but it's in California, so it's probably going to get taxed to death.
Well, what I was going to say is, just to be fair, the 16 team works really good too because the first 4 games at home or sorry, all the
Mm-hmm.
games are at home, right? The first round. And then the second round, you would run those 4 games, could all be bowls. The winners of those go play the other 2. Those are all bowls. There's your New Year's Six. Those are your 6 bowl games. There's 4 games and 2, and then the winner plays again national championship. So I look at that and I say the bowl games, your New Year's Six, you're going to give them special treatment, Jay, whether you like it or not. So you're going
Yeah.
to keep them in the CFP. That's the way it's going to go for the money, for the happiness of all the donors, for the sponsors, everything. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying it works both ways. It's working, just fine. I would like to see them change the home game for the first 4. I think that we
Mm-hmm.
have data now. Well, you're going to sit here
Yeah.
and say it's not fair that Georgia is hosting a game. Well, these teams are losing because of the whole scheduling. So I like that. I like that idea. I think they should probably do that.
Yep. I would definitely, at the very least, do that. If you want to keep the bowl games in there, I mean, they can do whatever they want, and it would be fine. But I'm just saying, you don't have to.
Call me biased, but when they were on the
You
radio
biased
today,
son of a bitch.
when they were on the radio today, they talked about, come to think of it, IU had this dream season and they didn't get a home game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, man, yeah, how fucking crazy would it have been down in Bloomington if they had a home game as the number 1 seed on this ride to this fucking unbelievable championship? It's like, oh man, that would have been something that you'd have told your kids about the year they went 16 and 0 when you were there when they fucking blew out someone or whatever. Like, that would have been a moment. So yeah, they probably should make sure there's home games for those teams.
Yeah. Instead, they celebrated their championship in 15 inches of snow, and it was -5 degrees.
Yeehaw.
Isn't that beautiful?
We'll close up shop real quick just to discuss briefly in the MMA world. Ronda Rousey is, I guess, kind of coming out of retirement to face off against Gina Carano, which, if you don't know her,
Mm-hmm.
she was the one that took a punch from, what do we call him?
Colossus.
Colossus. I was going to say Cyclops, and I knew it wasn't right.
Get out.
Colossus in Deadpool punches her, and she just kind of stands there like, what are you doing? And then I think she punched him in the dick, right, Jay?
Oh, yeah, he definitely got cock knocked.
So she's obviously good looking and she's very, fit and strong.
Mm-hmm.
I am very curious to see how this goes. It is an MMA fight, and I did find out today that it is being hosted by Jake Paul, or he helped organize it. Now I can only imagine what kind of fixed bullshit we could actually see. But, I know Ronda Rousey used to do some wrestling, but I don't know if she would be able to get punched in the face and not, you know what I mean? This is MMA. It's not boxing. You're going to be doing all the kinds of stuff. I just don't think that it'll be a fix. But what's your thought on her coming back, and like, what do you expect to see?
I don't know. They've both been out of the game for so long,
Mhm.
and they've both been in Hollywood and all this other stuff, But I really don't expect anything special. I really don't. I think it'll be kind of like Tyson Paul. It'll be hyped. It'll be advertised, and it'll make a lot of money because people are gonna watch it. Fuck, I'm probably gonna watch it just
Is
to
it
see it.
better that it's
But
MMA? Like, does that make it more appealing instead of
no,
boxing, or not really?
no, not really. But I mean, it kind of does, because there's always that small 1% chance that they're gonna give a shit and they're not just worried about a payday. And they're gonna actually, one of them's gonna be like, I'm gonna kill this bitch. And one of them wants to go do it. And I think if either one of them is going to do it, it would probably be Rousey, who has that attitude going into it of, I'm just going to knock this chick out and be done with it, put her in an armbar and break her in half. But I mean, Gina is not a slouch. I mean, she was really good back in the day. So, I mean, it's 2 ladies past their prime already. They've been out of the game for a while. I don't expect anything like brutal to come out of it or anything like that. But
I guess
we'll see.
I guess I'm interested because we haven't actually seen it. Like, we haven't had enough combat sports in women's long enough to have this kind of moment where they have a couple out of prime or semi-retired people go head to head. You see it in other facets. We've seen it in the past. But like, this is kind of one of our first opportunities to see a couple of women go at it. I think Rousey had a child. Like, you're kind of seeing them post their prime era, and it's like, do they still have that animal instinct, beat the shit out of each other. And what's it going to look like when one of them's bleeding and they're wrestling and trying to arm bar and it's like chokeholds. I'm just kind of curious from that aspect because we haven't really seen that. Usually they're prime fucking top of their game. They're going for a belt. Like that's when you see them. So to see them in this situation, I'm actually kind of curious what it'll look like.
Yeah, well, in both their cases, they're gonna get a bag. They're gonna make bank off of it.
Making bank, bro.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are what the hell? A lot of people are gonna watch. Like I said, I have really no remote interest in it, but I'll probably have it on. And if there's nothing else going on,
yeah,
I just don't. I'm not gonna get hyped up for it. It's like, oh man, Ronda versus Gina, whoa!
But you're gonna
maybe 10 years ago.
But you're gonna have it on, and you're gonna be happy if something kind of like noteworthy happened. You're gonna be like,
just because there's that 1% chance.
Yeah, like you just
there's always that 1%.
Yeah, you just that feeling of maybe, maybe something happens that's like, wow.
It would be worth it. Yeah. I mean, I think it's on Netflix, so you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the bonus part of it. I mean, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to pay extra to watch this, but at the same time, it's like, well, I am paying $15 a month for it.
I guess
so it's not like I'm getting it for free.
But like I'm already paying for it.
Why not watch it? But there's always a chance that, and what I'm really, when you have a thing like that being promoted, you have a high end main event, usually the undercard is pretty good. So
that's true.
Like when you had Paul Tyson. I mean that women's fight that they had during that boxing pay-per-view, that women's fight was phenomenal. I mean, it was fight of the night in my eyes. But then you also have like lightweight guys who are going in, who don't really get the time to shine, but they go in there to little speedy sumbitches who are just going in there and swinging for the fences, and they're quick. Yeah. And you're just like, wow. And sometimes the undercard outshines the main event. So if you're looking at that, it's like, man, okay, I came for Ronda and Gina, but I'm loving this undercard and what I get to see, and I get to see people just pound each other's faces off, and it's sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
Damn right it is.
I will say is we're probably never going to talk baseball on the show. We've been expanding. We're never going to talk baseball. I don't think we're ever going to talk NASCAR. Really. I'm sorry to those fans. Really. So if you've made it this far,
I'm a NASCAR guy, but I understand it has its place. But I don't want to talk about it really. You're there, bud.
Sorry, I got unplugged there. Because I pulled.
Because you brought up NASCAR.
My pull-out game is strong. Anyway.
Word.
So we're never going to talk about those, but we're going to dabble in some of the sports that people care about. Wrestling, I'm still mad, man. So, I mean, I've been wanting to watch it, but I'm also just still mad. And then
Mystery Box delivered to Raw last night.
Mystery Box. Oh, yeah, it was...
they shipped it to SmackDown.
To Raw's general manager or something.
Do not open until February 28th, which is Elimination Chamber. We got to wait 3 more weeks.
So, 2 more weeks, I've been catching a clip here or there, but, wrestling's got me mad. So, they retire. I watch them after John Cena didn't watch them. I go watch them. They retire AJ Styles right in front of me. And I'm like, okay, well, now you guys are just toying with my emotions.
They're going to be the Raw is in Atlanta next week, and they're having an AJ Styles appreciation night. So, something might come out of it.
Is he in the box? Wait,
if he's in the box, he can't come out until the 28th. So I don't think they would do that.
Make some holes in that box.
You better be some.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
All right, guys. Well, like always, please thank you for watching, and until then, next time, see you.